Hello friends, my name is Dr. Sunil Bhatt. I am the Director and Clinical Lead of Pediatric Hematology, Oncology and Bone Marrow Transplant at Narayana Health Team, Bangalore. Now today I have basically come to talk to you in context of coronavirus or COVID-19, what we call. As we all know that whole world has been engulfed in this pandemic of coronavirus infection, a viral infection which originated in China and has been affecting practically each and every country of the world. Now, what this infection has to do in the context of children who are suffering from cancers, blood diseases, or are having bone marrow transplants. So today we just want to discuss with you the impact of this infection in these children who are fighting these life-threatening diseases as well, parallelly, simultaneously. We all know that this infection has affected the lives of each and every person on this planet, and we want to discuss with you how we can probably address this issue in the context of children suffering from these hematological and oncological diseases. Now, why are we talking about hematological oncology diseases in the children, and what is peculiar about the children when it comes to coronavirus or COVID? See, first of all, we know that this coronavirus infection or the COVID infection affects mainly older people, and we also see that the chances of complications and severity is little more in older patients. It has been seen people who are more than 60 years of age get affected more with this infection. But it has also been seen that patients who have got some other coexisting diseases like heart diseases, diabetes, hypertension, and also patients who are on cancer treatment or having active cancers or other blood-related disorders where the immunity of the body is low, there's a speculation, there's a probability that this infection is going to be more severe in those patients. As we are talking about these children who are suffering from some of these diseases where either they are having chemotherapy or they are suffering from cancer, they have had bone marrow transplants or other blood-related disorders where the immune system is deficient. So we expect that these infections are going to be more severe. Coronavirus infection is going to be more severe in these children and may lead to more serious consequences as compared to probably other children who are normal and immune system is intact. So that's one of the reasons we are here today to discuss this important aspect in this special category of patients. Now, the question which we get asked many times by the families when they come to see us is that with regards to these children which are suffering from these diseases which we discussed, what are the precautions to be taken? So the answer to that question is that the precautions for the children are the same as for anyone else in the society or anyone else in the community. Fortunately, a lot of these children and a lot of the families who look after the children with blood-related diseases and cancers, they practice isolation practices. They take precautions just because of their underlying disease, which are probably sufficient in the terms of coronavirus or COVID infection as well. And I just want to enumerate those. We are not going to go in great detail in discussing them, but that is social distancing is very, very important. Stay away from people. Hand wash frequently with soap and water. When you're coming to the hospital, bring a bottle of sanitizer with you and use sanitizer after touching any of the surfaces in the hospital. Keep a mask on the face, especially when you're visiting the hospital or you are in an area where you have contact with people where the people may be coughing or having cold. These children should be kept away from people unwell who are having fever, who are having cough, who are having cold, so that if there's a suspicion of infection on all these individuals, it doesn't spread to them. So in short, all the precautions which are there for the general public are to be followed for these children and the families as well, and probably a little more strictly, because as I said, infection, if comes to these children who are immunocompromised, can lead to devastating complications. Now, one of the important questions is from the families which comes is that how it's going to affect the care of these children? How is the treatment of these children going to be affected because of this pandemic? It's a very, very important question, and I want to take this question into two aspects. One is that although we know that coronavirus infection is going to be probably more severe in these children because they're immune deficient, as we already discussed, but at the same time we cannot forget that these children are also affected by some other underlying condition, underlying cancer, underlying blood disorder, which can be equally or even more life-threatening if left untreated. So we are really dealing with two double-edged sword. At one side we have a coronavirus pandemic looming on us. At the same time, we also have the children who are suffering from one of these life-threatening diseases, and these diseases really need to be looked after and cared for and treated promptly and adequately. And if these diseases are not treated, these can itself have life-threatening implications on the children or the child suffering from those. So it's a very difficult situation to be in, especially the children who are on active treatment. Now, for the purpose of discussion of this question, I have basically divided the children into two groups. One is the children who are on active treatment. That means they have got blood diseases, cancers which are active, which are being treated at the moment, or they got diagnosed newly, or maybe diagnosed eventually in the next few days or weeks. This is one group of patients. The second group of patients is those children who had malignancy, who had a blood disorder, who had a bone marrow transplant in the past. Now they have completed the treatment, they are on follow-up, what we call a surveillance. So they are following up for the long-term complication, they are following up for long-term surveillance. This is the second group of patients where the treatment is finished and they are not at the moment in active treatment phase. For the second group of patients, those patients who have finished the treatment and those who are just on surveillance at the moment, we advise those patients and the families, please do not come to the hospital. There would be already a follow-up plan. For example, you have to do a blood count. For example, you have to do an X-ray of the child after 3 months. Please get that done with a local doctor, with a local team, and send that across to the treating team so that they can look at your results. They can also have maybe a video chat or audio chat with you and advise you what is to be done. Only if required, those patients who are finished your treatment, only if required by the treating teams, you can come down to the hospital or to the treating oncology center. Otherwise, stay at home, consult your teams, consult your oncologist, consult your hematologist virtually, and take their advice. Coming to the first group of patients, those patients who are on active treatment, those who are currently dealing with the oncological or the hematological conditions. Unfortunately, as I said earlier, we don't have a chance or choice. We will have to continue with the treatment. You can discuss with your treating teams, because sometimes you can probably give a bridging treatment which is not very strong, which may be mild treatment, so that we tide over this crisis and then restart the full-fledged treatment later on. If that is possible, your treating team can do that. But sometimes that may not be possible, and you may have to continue the required treatment as per the plan, as per the schedule, because an underlying hematological disorder which is being treated may be quite severe, maybe quite life-threatening, and if untreated, that itself may be lead to devastating complications in the child. So please discuss with your team, and some of these conditions will require continuation of the treatment, because stopping the treatment may not be advisable. Now there's another group of patients wherein there is a transplant is required, what we call as bone marrow transplant is required. Here also bone marrow transplant is done for probably two types of diseases. One is which is a little more stable. For example, thalassemia. Thalassemia is not an immediately life-threatening condition where you can wait. Thalassemia transplant is never an emergency. Here you can wait for the things to settle down, and my suggestion is that patients with thalassemia, sickle cell anemia, and other similar which are stable diseases, we should not rush into transplant at this point of time. We should wait, let the situation settle down, and then transplant them later on after some weeks or some months when the things settle down. But at the same time, there may be some conditions where transplant is required immediately, like leukemias and blood cancers. Here we may not be able to wait too much. As I said earlier, you should discuss this with your treating teams, and if they feel that they can wait for some time, it's okay. If not, then it may be advisable to go ahead with the transplant also if the disease status warrants so. Now there is another group of patients, another question which comes is from thalassemia patients. So these are the group of patients who suffer from thalassemia, and thalassemia, what happens is that these patients do not make their own blood, so they require blood transfusions to be given for them every few weeks. Now these patients are dependent on hospitals. They go to the hospital every few weeks to get blood transfusions, and because of the current situation, there are two problems faced with these patients. One, that they may not be able to travel to the hospitals they used to get blood transfusions from. That's one problem. And the other problem which they face is that the blood requirement for them may not be met because the donations of blood have come down, and as a consequence of that, there may not be enough blood in the blood banks in the hospitals which they're going to get blood transfusions. Now for thalassemia patients, my advice is that if you have been going to a center which is far off from you and you cannot travel to that center, please, for this time and till the situation is uncertain, for the next few weeks or few months till this pandemic settles down, you can go to your local hospital, a local clinic where blood transfusion facilities available and can be done, and please go there and get the clinicians, the physicians from that hospital. Talk to your parent institution where you get blood transfusion. That can be facilitated locally so that you don't have to travel to the centers which are far away where you usually get blood transfusion. That is one advice. The second advice I give is that before you even go to the centers where the blood transfusion is to be given, it's better to inquire on phone, inquire with them whether the blood is available, and request them to keep the blood available when you go and get the transfusion. So that's the second thing which we can do. The third thing is, which is probably a little controversial, but I think in the current situation and the current scenario what we are dealing with, it may be probably wise to do that. What we usually do with thalassemia kids is that we keep the blood transfusion, the blood levels before giving blood transfusion in the range of 9.5 to 10.5. It's absolutely fine for 1 or 2 months if it's not possible to maintain that level of 9.5 to 10.5. Even if you're maintaining levels more than 7.5, it's probably all right. In 1 or 2 months time, it may not be affecting overall health or the overall scenario with the thalassemia kid that much. So that can also be practiced, especially if you're not able to travel or if you're not able to arrange blood for these kids in time. So we can even maintain a little lower hemoglobin till the situation is better. Now one more question which the families of these kids whose kids are suffering from blood diseases or cancers ask is about diet and exercise. So there is no specific restriction, and as I said earlier, whatever applies to the common people, the community at large, applies for these children and kids also. They anyways, as I said earlier, they usually practice some restrictions in their diet and other lifestyle. So we recommend to continue taking healthy diet. We usually recommend in these immunocompetent patients to have cooked homemade food which is nutritious. They should also have half an hour to 1 hour exercise every day, so that their immune system remains well and they are in a better shape to fight any kind of infection, including coronavirus infection. Now one of the questions which also is being asked by the families and the children is that if this child who is suffering from blood disease or a cancer gets unwell I mean, but it gets unwell which is suspicious of a coronavirus infection. For example, these children get fever, they get cough, cold, breathing difficulty, and there's a suspicion that this may be a coronavirus infection, which I said earlier, for the children is a little bit more severe than the normal children who may have normal immune system. If something like that happens, please immediately talk to your treating team and they'll advise you what is to be done. Some of the hospitals where you are getting your primary treatment may have the capacity or capability to treat these children also, those who are suffering from coronavirus infection. So they will advise you to come to the hospital and then will be taken care of like any other coronavirus infection patient. But if some of the centers which are purely oncological centers where you're getting your treatment for your child and they may not have facility for treating coronavirus infection, they will advise you which is the local place or which is the nearest place for you to go where this infection can be treated. So please talk to your treating team and they will guide you accordingly. There's also a question which comes from these families sometimes, is that what if this child who has got one of these diseases which we just discussed, or their primary caretakers like mother, father, or who's the primary caretaker, they come in contact with a known coronavirus patient or a known COVID patient. Again, this is something which you need to talk to your treating team, and they'll advise you how to look after these children or families who have got a contact. They'll explain you how to quarantine, what are the flag signs when you need to report to the hospital. So please be in touch with them, and they will guide you accordingly. This is very important. That's about blood donations and the blood requirement. So we know a lot of these children, a lot of these patients require blood donations, blood transfusions on a regular interval, whether it's platelets or it's packed cells. And because of the current situation which we are in, the blood donations in the camps and blood donation to the hospitals have really come down. There's a lot of scarcity of blood in the whole country, in the blood banks. So it's a very difficult situation to be in, because you need blood for the children, for these patients, but it's not available in enough quantities in the blood bank. So my plea also to the general public is here, that please come forward for blood donations. It's absolutely safe to donate blood during this corona pandemic. Please come forward and donate, so that some of these patients who require these urgent blood transfusions can get that. Now, to conclude, the last point I want to make is that there is a lot of fear, there is a lot of uncertainty, there's fear of unknown, there is fear of this disease in everybody's mind, and probably more so in the families of these children who are already looking after a child who has got a life-threatening disease affecting blood or cancer disorder. And that probably applies for other people as well who are looking after patients in their families who are unwell with some chronic long-standing disease process. Now, very common to get depressed, get anxious, have fear in your minds. My suggestion is that, my recommendation is that it can be really overwhelming. So please, even in this testing times, think positive, keep yourself engaged in positive actions, read positive things, keep yourself informed, but don't overburden your brains and minds with a lot of negative information. And if you are finding it difficult to deal with the situation, please talk to your treating team, and they can definitely help you. So to conclude, these are testing times, but we know for sure that this is going to pass. We're going to fight it all together. Let us be cautious, let us be safe, and take precautions, especially for the children, those who are already suffering from a major ailment, major disease process. And I think together, if we work together, we can win. And my appeal and my suggestion to also my colleagues is that the physicians, the teams who are looking after the children with blood diseases, cancers, please share your contact details, please share your team contact details with these families, so that they can reach out to you, discuss with you, and as much as possible try to do audio consults, video consults with these patients if they cannot come to the hospital, so that we can reassure them and we can also help them in these difficult times. Thank you very much.